Chelsea Edwards joins us live from Montrose with what people are saying about this video. If this all turns out to be true, this is the biggest story of our lifetime, Chelsea.
When it comes to aliens, there's some things I just can't tell you on air. But what is true, and I'm actually being serious here, is that there's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain how they moved, their trajectory. You know, I think that people still take seriously trying to investigate and figure out what that is.
From what I hear you guys saying, there's something.
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give our praises to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushai, Hashem, Akakodash. That's the nation Hebrew, saying our praises to Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Yahweh is the correct name for the God of the Bible, who the world ignorantly called Jehovah, or God, and his son's true name in the Hebrew is Yahushai, who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ. I want to give the honors unto our elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and shalom to our brothers and who push this word in sincerity and in truth, to all that believe in this gospel. Shalom. This lesson, I'm not sure exactly what I'm entitled yet, but the so-called UFO sightings, are actually sightings from the chariots of the nation of Israel, and just go straight into it, because the angels are actually in these vehicles, and that's so Yahweh shall the world ignorantly call Jesus Christ, will return as a so-called alien invasion. Right? This is Luke chapter 21 verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts feeling them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things shall begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. And we basically intend that phase right now, when the plagues are coming upon the face of the earth, and then that basically going to usher in the return of our Lord Yahushai, which is so-called black man. So these sightings of so-called UFOs that are seen, it's basically signs in the heavens, the angels, preparing for that day, right, getting things into play, the prophecies, ultimately fulfilling. This is Zechariah chapter 5 and verse 1. Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes, and looked, and behold a flying roll. And he said unto me, What seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. So this is Zechariah, that that hey, he saw a flying roll, a round disc like image of flying, and give like a measurement towards it from his perspective. Verse 5, then said he unto me, This is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth, for every one that stealeth shall be cut off on this side according to it, and every one that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it. So this is the chariots, basically taking records. So it's sightings all over the earth, mainly in that city, Babylon the Great, America. Verse 4, and I will bring it forth, say the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof, because Yahushua is coming back to basically destroy this wicked society. You want to go to even the scripture in Amos 9 and 11. 9 and 11. Ah, 9 and 8. It says, Behold, the eyes of the Lord Yahweh are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord, in the house of Jacob, or the so-called Negroes, Native Americans, Spanish Latinos today, about the house of the wicked, the sinful kingdom, right, mainly America, now also referred to as the house of the thief earlier in Zechariah, because ultimately them thief the whole land, and then thief the nation of Israel, and in slavery. And the scripture says, he that stealeth a man, and he shall be found in his hand, basically shall be put to death. So judgment is about to dish out on this face of the earth, right? That's why these chariots are basically manifesting. This is Isaiah 66 and verse 15. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, right? So the chariots them look like fire in the night, lights, or sometimes look like whirlwind in the day, or they look like clouds, all description given unto these so-called UFOs. To render his hunger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire, right? Go back to Amos 9 and 8, Zechariah 5, right? It says, for by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. Now let's get this real quick. Just don't want to make this a quick lesson. This is Revelation 19 and verse 11. And I saw heaven opened, and behold a white horse. And this is not literally dealing with a literal horse. The horse represents power, and the white represents purity, right? And he that sat upon him was called faithful and true, and in righteousness he doeth judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. Why? And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself, which his name is Yahushua, and revealed in secrecy to servants, Verse 13, and he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God, which is a title. And the armies, right, which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, or the chariots, so-called UFOs, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treaded the winepress of the faces of the wrath of the Almighty Yahweh Shemel. The Yahushua is coming back to basically bring forth destruction, And then when him come, these nations going to gather together, try to fight against him, for basically issuing the war for, basically, when Satan get kicked out of heaven, right, literally, Satan represent, in the Hebrew, Shatan, adversary, which have the physical manifestation of this, the devil, Satan upon the face of the earth, known as the Edomites today, so-called white race. But all these nations going to team up, so-called fight against humanity, will fight against Yahushua. Because it's an invasion, right? But Yahushua going to fight against them with the armies of heaven, the angels, the so-called chariots, so-called UFOs, should I say. Verse 16, and he had on a vesture, and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the foes that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God, that he may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sat on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. And I saw the beasts and the kings of the earth, and their armies gathered together to war, and to make war against him that sat on the horse, and against his army. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, and with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, which is implanted by our father chip, and them that worship his image, basically his system, glorified. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. That represents more America would be like, a lake of fire. Let's get this real quick. Revelation 12 and 7. Alright, Revelation 12 and 7, it says, and there was war in heaven, in the sky. Michael the archangel and his angels fought against the dragon, which dragon represents Esau, so-called white race power structure. And the dragon fought and his angels, him and him aircraft them, and prevailed not, so they didn't win. Neither was their place found any more in heaven, so they get cast out. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil, all titles, and Satan, which deceived the whole world. he was cast out into the earth, and his angels was cast out with him, and getting blast out of the skies, by the chariots, shooting so-called, look up a better term, laser beams, and that's where those chariots, the sightings represent, the return of our Lord coming back as a massive so-called alien invasion to take over the earth. As the scripture says this, when we go to Isaiah 31, a short verse. Isaiah 31 verse 5, it says, "As birds flying, so will the Lord of hosts defend Jerusalem. Defending also he will deliver it, and passing over he will preserve it." So the Lord is coming back with chariots, so-called UFOs, to destroy this wicked ass society and set up the kingdom of heaven. That's the lesson, giving our praise to our power, how about Shem, Shai, about Shem, Kakodash, the honors and to our elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the full.